Hot take. Your family member will lie on camera. Knowing full well you know the truth, they will lie. The fact that you exist right now, here in the world, is interesting because it's the product of countless decisions by both your parents and grandparents. And if you can't see that, then you probably just haven't gone back far enough. Hi, I'm Halise. I'm a storyteller and filmmaker, and throughout my creative career, I have interviewed many elders for short-form documentaries here on this channel, and let me tell you something, I've learned a few things about that process. I want to equip you to interview your family members and get the best interviews out of them possible. So that way, if you're the family historian and you're just getting going, or if for some reason you just feel this great need now to capture your family, I can give you everything I've learned and you can capture the most authentic version of them as possible, and hopefully learn a little bit about yourself along the way. I'm making this video because of the book bans that are currently happening across the United States, more specifically in states like Tennessee and Texas, where I was actually born and raised. These book bans are an attempt to diminish and erase American history, more specifically, my American history. And if you have parents that grew up here in the United States that are probably in their mid 60s to late 60s now, they're American history as well. I've gotten the supreme opportunity and blessing to interview my parents a few times here on this channel, but one of my favorite interviews of them is them actually talking about living through desegregation and growing up in desegregation. Because it's one thing to read about it in a book, which I think is important and matters, but it's another thing to have a primary source account of it. And even though both of my parents grew up in the same city, in the same state, Portsmouth, Virginia, they both had radically different experiences going through desegregation. If you're interested to see that video, I'll link to it in the description box and in the little Eye of Sauron, whichever side it shows up in. I mean, they're trying to ban books on critical race theory, Reconstruction, civil rights movement, Jim Crow. Even right now in Tennessee, there's a group that's trying to ban the book Ruby Bridges Goes to School. Ruby Bridges is still alive as of recording this video. She's 69 years old. She's somebody's grandma. This is crazy. They're even trying to ban books by literal literary greats, Toni Morrison's beloved. And definitely don't hit me up if your blackness is not intersectional. In Texas alone, there's a list of 850 books. Many of them, in fact, most of them, are either written by people of color, people in the LGBTQI+ community, and other marginalized groups. My home state. So obviously continue to show up and be civically engaged however you decide to do that. But aside from that, the reason why I made this video is because if they out here banning books, it's not okay. But if they're out here banning books, then we have to start documenting our family members. We have to start maintaining and getting those primary source accounts of their lived experiences. So that way their story can't be erased by the powers that be. So with all that being said, here's my first tip. So my first tip for interviewing your family members, no one-word answers. Don't allow them to give you one-word answers to any of your questions. And the way you do that is by making sure that you structure your questions so they can't give you one-word answers. So a question I'll see people ask a lot is, did you have a good childhood? It's a little leading because most of the time you usually know if it's a yes or no on that, but most of the time, family members can say yes or no. They don't actually have to really think about it and give you a response. Now, if you have a chatty family member, they might actually say yes and keep talking, or no and keep talking. But I have found, generally speaking, that once you bring out the tech, whether you're using a simple recorder, your phone, a camera, whatever it is, once you bring it out, most family members tend to clam up a little bit. They tend to get a little nervous. So definitely go through and restructure your questions so there's no way of giving one-word answers. So for example, that question, did you have a good childhood? Maybe it becomes a prompt instead, tell me about your childhood. Now that I've given you this tip, if you've already started building out your questions, go back through them and review. How many of them can technically be answered in one word? How can you adjust the question, make it a prompt, whatever you need to do to make it to where it can't be answered with one word? I'm finna make a whole documentarian out of you. We finna give Ava DuVernay a run for her money. Let's get on to the next tip. Okay, so my next tip, if you're a people person, if you're a good conversator, I implore you, I beseech you, silence is golden. If you've taken my advice from the last tip and incorporated these open-ended questions into your interviewing process, and you've just asked them a question that's open-ended that they got to think about a response to, they can't think if you keep talking. You got to be silent. Ask the question, give them the prompt, live in the silence, let them cook in it and figure out what they finna say to you. And I know that's hard. I recognize that's hard because naturally, I think as humans, we want to fill the silence. We want to chat. We want to be in conversation, but you really can't do that. You gotta live in the silence. You gotta let them cook. And to prove to you that they really do need silence, like they really do need time to formulate their thought, I'm gonna test it out with you right now, right here in this video, okay? I'm gonna ask you a question. I really want you to try to think of an answer and try to like say out loud to me the answer, all right? Tell me about a time in your life that tested your resolve. Explain to me what happened. Like, what was the whole backstory with it? How far did you actually get? Were you able to actually tell me the whole story, or were you just getting going? Now, imagine if there's a camera in your face while you're doing that. Something I tend to notice when I go back into the footage and watch interviews I've done is that in the beginning, I hear myself quite a bit. You know, I'm kind of setting up the conversation, teeing things up, all that kind of stuff. But as the interview moves on and on, I hear less and less of myself and more of the interviewee, whoever I'm interviewing. Keep that in mind for yourself. If you're interviewing family members and you're going back and watching the footage, on the whole, it should be about 80% them talking and 20%-ish of you teeing up questions, teeing up conversations, maybe gearing the conversation to push it back towards something. Only about 20%. But if you're noticing that it's closer to like 50-50, maybe reconsider how you're structuring things and consider speaking a little bit less. Next tip, here we go. This one's hard. I know I said the last one's hard, but this one's like genuinely hard. Don't judge your family member in the interview. The interview is not the place to have the intervention on the things they've done, on the mistakes they've made. Because here's the thing, every family, every community, every culture, every country has skeletons. And my philosophy on being a documentarian is that you are there to try to capture the most authentic version of this person on camera. And you can't do that accurately if you're judging them. Something that I often keep in mind as someone who interviews people is that in the moment, you actually have a lot of power over this person. If they are agreeing to be interviewed by you, to be documented by you, that means to a certain degree, they trust you. They trust you with their likeness. They trust you with their story. And so I find as the interviewer, you have to figure out how to come into that interview with your mind right. How to make sure that for better or worse, you are showing this person as accurately and as authentically as possible. That you are capturing the good in them, the bad in them, and the everything in between in them. And this is coming from someone who has family members that have done things that I do not align with at all. One thing I will say will happen, hot take, your family member will lie on camera. Knowing full well you know the truth, they will lie. It's not actually because they're trying to like be deceitful. A lot of times it's actually because they've had to live in that lie for so long. It's ingrained into their psyche. And as the interviewer, your job is to seek out the truth, to seek out the authenticity, to seek out what it is. This is not to say that you should excuse anything your family members do. I don't think you should excuse it, ever. I'm just saying that the interview is not the time to air those grievances. You know, at the top of the video, I talked about how they're trying to ban books on critical race theory, desegregation, civil rights movement, all of that. Regardless of your race, gender, or creed, if your parents grew up here in the United States and are in their 60s, they lived through desegregation. Regardless of their race, gender, or creed. Ask them about it. And don't judge them when they give you the answer. I think something that's really important about getting great interviews is acknowledging your own discomfort in topics and not being afraid to sit in that discomfort. Let's finish this out. So, in conclusion, I want to hit you with one final tip, and it's more of a production one that I use a lot. And the tip is this: always be rolling and don't tell people that you're rolling. I can't tell you how many times I've been on sets with producers, etc. And, you know, we're interviewing some C-suite executive somewhere and they come in jovial, chit-chatty, chatting and chitting everywhere, you know, just talk of the town, if you will. And it never fails. The producer will sit them in the chair. We've already set up all the lights and everything. And the producer says, okay, we're about to start. And I watch them clam up. All of a sudden, they don't know how to be. And it's literally just because the producer was like, and now we're rolling. Don't do that at all. Because the whole point, again, is to try to keep the person you're interviewing as comfortable as possible, to have them feel as safe with you as possible. But something I do is, if it is an interview that I'm setting up with my cameras, etc., by the time they come in, first off, I've already had everything set up. Maybe I've sat in to like check everything and it looks good to me. Or if I'm working with a DP, I'm usually not. It's usually just me. But if I'm working with a DP, them and I have kind of looked eye to eye and everything matches. They come in, I start talking to them immediately. How was your day? How are things going? Great. And I sit them in the chair. Cool, we're going to get started in a little bit. Tell me more about what's going on with you. Like, I'm just keeping them chatting while I'm glancing over at my DP, again, if I have one, and double checking, like both of us are kind of eyeballing each other. Everything look good? Yeah. Okay, cool. And then I walk over to the camera and we both record. I might come up and just to make sure it's good and kind of eyeball the sound person, if there is a sound person. Are we good? Okay, cool. And I'm like, you're rolling. And then I just start talking to them. I sit down and we just start talking. Without fail, this is what usually happens. 10 minutes into the interview or so, they're in the middle of telling me, regaling me of an amazing story that they're telling. And I'm thinking, wow, this is gold. This is amazing. Cool. And they kind of stop midway through and are like, oh, wait, are we rolling? Did we start? And I say, yeah, we've been rolling this whole time. Continue. And then they just keep going. Because I've demystified it. I've made it so simple, so straightforward. I've made it about us in this moment, having a conversation. I've secured that they feel safe and they're just talking. And that's what you want. You want them to just feel like they're talking. Another thing I don't do is I don't use a clapper. It just freaks people out. And honestly, with today's tech, you don't need a clapper. I mean, just literally roll on everything and clap in front of the camera. And software like Adobe Premiere Pro can sync it real quick. You don't need to be extra about this for an interview. And so there you have it. Those are my tips for interviewing family members or anyone, frankly, and trying to get the most authentic and best version of them caught either on camera or in audio. I hope this helps with you documenting your story and telling your own story online. I have learned so much about my own life, my own path, my own existence from talking to my elders, talking to my family members, talking to my parents about their lived experiences and the choices they've made and how those choices, even before I even existed, affected who I am today. I mean, when I think about if my dad had not decided to join the military, like where I would be, it's insane to like consider that. And so I hope through this video, it's come to help you realize that you are unique. Your story is worth telling and worth exploring. Again, I'm Halise, endeavoring to persevere as always, and on this channel I document my chaotic good life. Big shout out to my Patreon producers, patreon.com/Halise. There you get early access to my videos, exclusive content, merch, and so much more. It's a good time. Thank you so much to my patrons for helping to support this channel and my work. Again, I'm Halise, and I'll see you when I see you.